First of all, I appreciate you doing this for us. Really awesome. Not sure if you got to check out the questions or not, but they're pretty simple.
I did.
No brain busters here, as you noticed then. So we'll just go down the line, right? So first question is just to give me a quick rundown of your business. So brokerage name, location, how long in the business, number of agents, transactions, et cetera.
Sure. So I work for my home group, and we're here in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've been an agent for 6 years. I run a team of 7 agents right now. We'll do about between 55 and 65 transactions a year. Knocking on that probably 35 to $40 million mark. Yeah, so that's, I think, answers it.
Very cool, very cool. So quickly describe your journey to how you got here. How did you build your business to the point you're at today?
So I started with a company that was a tech company, Zip Realty. The reason I started with them is because my wife was already working there. So I got in with Zip. Really loved their platform, hated the splits. So left Zip and, Zip got bought by Coldwell Banker, right? So I was with Coldwell Banker for a minute and it just was not the right fit for me. So left there, went to Keller Williams, did Keller Williams for about a year, didn't drink the Kool-Aid, so it wasn't my kind of thing. And then went to 100% commission at HomeSmart, and I was there for, I think, 3 years, and went to my home group about a year and a half ago. And the reason I moved to my home group is because they're really team focused. They have a great training and systems and everything for teams, in addition to having probably, I think, 3 of the top 5 teams in the Valley, between like Lawton, Mitchell, who's actually gone now, but Revisto. So they've got, they're just really, really good at the team concept. Mm-hmm. So in order to grow my team and kind of get the right systems in place, I went there.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting how some brokerages are placed stronger to teams and some don't, right? That's an interesting dynamic for sure. So how'd you hear about Chime?
Brett Baker. So Brett.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I used Real Geeks for a long time. And I honestly felt like it went way downhill when Jeff sold it off to Sync or Fidelity or whoever it is. And after that, I used Firepoint with Ylopo, Follow Boss, Lion's Desk, Zoho, Salesforce for the blink of a minute. I used Jason Mitchell's software for a minute. So we tried a whole bunch of different stuff, right? I mean, I've been, through the ringer on a lot of it. And, Brett was really pumping up Chime. At the point, I was using Firepoint with Ylopo, and it was working okay, but there was, some things that I wanted to do and see, and it didn't necessarily have them. In addition to their support was just pretty miserable. So we went over, did the whole review with Chime and tried it out and loved it.
Awesome. Awesome. So you really have been through the ringer. You've tried just about everything, it sounds like.
Yeah, man. So I actually, it's funny. So our brokerage, my home group is, we're about 2,100 agents in the Valley, I think, and I actually teach the class there on CRM because I've used pretty much every CRM. So, I'm pretty, I don't want to say, I'm not a super tech guy, but I'm enough to make myself dangerous and also to understand what works and what doesn't work. And it's you can really easily see in a CRM if it's kind of patched together or if it's designed on purpose. And a lot of them are super patched together. And, I felt like Chime wasn't. And I still, even the additions that come to Chime, which you guys are great at that, rolling out new stuff and new releases, it integrates into the actual system rather than being something that seems to just sit on the top.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. And that comes down to the style of development. So that makes sense. So you've been through the ringer, you tried a bunch of different pieces of technology, you heard about us from Brett Baker. What was the tipping point to make you make the transition to Chime?
I'll play with it for a month. I mean, we got to play with it for a month or, whatever the trial period was. And it was great. I mean, it did what we wanted to do. I mean, obviously I'll be totally transparent. There's no CRM that has everything that I want to have. But if something fits 90% of your needs and it does a good job at that 90%, there's, you can use Zapier or whatever for workarounds for different things. And Chime fills that box perfectly.
Perfect. That's awesome. So it sounds like you got the Sandbox account or the dummy account. You played around with that for a month. Can you tell me a little bit
Yep.
about that experience and what you experienced within that month of using it that made you say, okay, this is the one for me? Because a lot of agents would try it for a month without being trained on it, and they would get more
Yeah.
confused than they wouldn't.
Well, so I'll be honest with you. I don't know that we did like the Sandbox account. I think I just bought it and ran it side by side. So I sure we did. So we bought it and ran it side by side. The same time we were running Firepoint, Ylopo, and Follow Up Boss. So we had the three running at the same time. And basically, I mean, we're grinders, right? So a ton of our business is prospecting, FISBOs, expireds, canceled, that kind of stuff. So a lot of the things that we really needed, we couldn't get from other sources. So at one point, as an example, I would be running Firepoint with Ylopo and then Follow Up Boss to do text messaging and text videos, and then Mojo to handle all of our expired dials and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it was a train wreck, right? Because it was just there was so much data in so many different places. And in playing with Chime for that first 30, 60 days, we kind of realized that we could do just about everything that we wanted to do in one platform. And then the onboarding was great. So, I mean, we went through the full onboarding. They did a great job explaining it, setting it up. And they're really good at at helping us walk through integrations and doing stuff like that. And so the support team's fantastic. We had our onboarder who was great, and now we've got our direct contact. So, just fit our needs, and running side by side with other platforms simultaneously, we were just able to see, how much higher our interaction level was on Chime versus like Follow Up Boss or versus Firepoint.
Sure. And when you're using three different systems, it's not just three different systems that you have to learn, but it's also three different support groups, support teams that you have to be interacting with, and their level of support can vary. So that's tough. So fast forward to today, is the reason that you signed up with Chime the same reason as why you originally bought, or have things kind of changed and the system evolved and you found something else that is maybe you didn't know that you needed until Chime?
Wow, tough question. So yeah, I mean, obviously our business has evolved. I mean, for us, the biggest evolution has been the ability to integrate Chime with an expired and FISBO data provider, and to electronically, automatically dump those leads. Hopefully I'm still there. Automatically dump those leads into Chime, and then use all the follow-up plans, the smart follow-up plans, the AI, the auto text, auto emails to engage those potential clients rather than just grinding through them on the phone. So that's been, I mean, we probably pick up 2 listings a month without lifting a finger, which is huge. It's a huge benefit to us.
Wow, 2 listings a month. That's massive. So I guess
I mean, it pays for it, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, of course, you got to buy the FISBO and expired leads, and you plug them into Chime. But I mean, it sounds like a great return, all things considered, especially when it's effort that you don't have to manually put forth in certain instances. So the next question I have for you is, what is your favorite thing about Chime? That kind of sounds like we might have already answered that question.
Yeah. So totally. It's the automated follow-up and the AI, right? So, having used, I mean, going all the way back to Get Riley, I mean, I've used all those services. So Ava, whatever, all of them, right? I've tried them all. ISAs from the Philippines, ISAs from the US, all that stuff. And at the end of the day, we found, for us at least, that, the AI bot, although it's not perfect, but I don't think any AI bot is, it does a very good job of engaging people, and giving us, a leap or a head start at least on interactions with potential clients. And then the follow-up campaigns are money, so by just making sure that we have those tuned in to exactly what we want to have happen, it's I mean, just as an example, I used to pay Mojo about $700 a month for data, for multiple triple line dialers, for 7 or 8 seats, and we don't pay, we don't even use them anymore. So I mean, a huge cost savings, and it works better because it's, in our market, I mean, we're fourth largest city in the United States. So, we've got hundreds of expireds a month and hundreds of FSBOs a month, and we're able to grind through those with automation without having to necessarily hit each one individually. So we can go straight to the people that raise their hand or engage and focus our time on converting rather than just cold prospecting.
That's huge right there. The idea of spending more time on converting rather than just cold prospecting. That's
Yeah.
music to my ears. I love that.
Yeah.
I'd like just to get a little bit more of your comment on the AI bot and how it's saving
Sure.
some time, or at least giving you a head start in some of your conversations with your leads.
Yeah, so we were part of the, I don't know if you called it the beta or the test group. So we've been using it since day one and providing the feedback and everything else. And the growth and evolution in it is pretty amazing, right? Because it's I mean, when it first rolled out, it was new, obviously, and it was kind of chunky and it didn't react well to any kind of oddball questions. But it's gotten much, much better, So just watching the conversations evolve and how the bot handles, it's not objection handling, obviously, but just for digging for information and getting more out of it and coming across as, as an intelligent being rather than just a question and answer thing, I mean, it's, as a comparison, I see a lot of like the Facebook bots that are out there, and they're not really bots, right? So they're not learning. They're not necessarily taking the information that you give them. They're just going on to the next question. And the AI bot at Chime doesn't do that. It looks at the data, it looks what the client's kind of doing, and it reacts to that. And obviously it's not a person, so it doesn't do it perfectly, but it does it really, really well. And the thing is, we can jump in that conversation because you immediately know. I mean, it texts you, it tells you, hey, the AI bot's got somebody that it's chatting with, and you might want to take a look at this because we're now, 15 texts deep. And when you get that deep in the conversation, that's when an agent needs to step in anyways. So
sure.
It's great. And when you're prospecting, literally, I think we've probably in 6 months, we've probably dumped 10 to 12,000 leads into the system that are just purely FSBOs and expireds and cancels. And at that quantity, you could never, we couldn't manage those individually. So now we just look for the ones that we can focus on. And the bots, it's I'd say it's about 35 to 40% of success at that.
Wow, love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if you were talking to an agent today looking to possibly buy Chime, what would you tell them?
You know what? It's a question about what their business is and where they want to go, right? So, the first answer that everybody gives is, oh, the best CRM is the one you're going to use. Well, I mean, that's kind of a BS answer, right? It's like, if you're not going to use it, then why are you looking? But if you want to perform at a pretty high level, and you want to, especially if you're team focused. For the individual agent, I'm sure the value's there, but I don't use it at that level, so I'm not sure. But for partners or teams, it's great. I mean, it's having your lender directly tied in there with your assistant. If you're looking to streamline your handling of leads and data, it does a fantastic job of that. I mean, as far as pipelining, groups, I mean, you can slice and dice the data a million ways. And as long as you put the time and effort up front in to make sure that you're setting up yourself for success, it's going to be successful. And in my opinion, it does a better job than any other platform out there, right? If you're a guy that generates leads strictly from, I don't know, if you're doing 5 or 10 leads a month from your sphere of influence, you probably don't need that much, right? But if you want to evolve at all, and if you're buying online leads at all, then you damn well better have something like Chime, because otherwise you're just throwing your money out the window.
Awesome, John. Thanks so much for the kind words. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you taking your time to speak with me today.